In this special National Hazing Prevention Week episode of the show, we have the honor of sitting down with two extraordinary women, Evelyn Piazza and Rayanne Gruver. Their stories are rooted in unimaginable heartbreak. They both lost their sons, Tim and Max, to hazing in 2017. Yet out of that grief has come purpose and determination, and today they lead with courage and conviction, raising awareness, shaping laws, and challenging all of us to build safer communities. So whether you're a fraternity or sorority leader, a coach, a band director, or a loving mom and dad, thanks for joining us in Tapping Play on a very, very important episode of Leaders, Letters, and Legacy. Thanks for joining us as we continue our conversation with Evelyn and Rayanne. We pick up right where we left off. I feel like I'm seeing you in more high schools and with more athletic teams and groups outside the fraternity sorority community. Is that fair to say?
Definitely,
Well,
Rayanne.
Max's foundation, we've really expanded into the high schools. That's been a big goal of ours too. I mean, college, of course, still want to do, like to reach those kids and do all that. It's not that. I do believe though, reaching and getting to these kids like junior, senior year, because it is going on in high school. Period. Like,
Yes.
just go through news reports and all over the country, there's been stuff with football teams, baseball teams, lacrosse teams, whatever, in high schools. But I do think getting to them and trying to get to parents before these kids go to college, just to, again, give them that information. Don't make light of these situations. Don't just allow these things to happen and think it's going to be okay, or just crossing your fingers through the whole new member period. Like, you need to take this really seriously. This last year, we've really expanded that. We've worked with Fidel to do a high school peer-to-peer program. So we brought that to a lot of high schools, or I just do a different version of kind of like what you've seen in the high schools if I don't have a Fidel chapter with me. And it's been very effective. Everybody we went to last year has asked us to come again this year. We've been going to Oregon, to this year we're going to Texas, Miami, a lot of places here in Georgia. I just think, again, reaching that, I'm going to convince Evelyn to start doing that too, if she'd stop traveling so much. But it is. I just think it's really important. And then these kids, the stories I get from them are incredible. Like one young man that I spoke to, it was a couple years ago, but he had left and gone to play, lacrosse down at a school in Florida, and they started hazing him. He put himself in the portal, transferred to somewhere in Georgia. He came back to that school, to his counselor, and told her exactly what happened and said, I don't even care. Like I always say to Evelyn, I don't care if they call me that lady or that mom or that whatever, but like, that lady said, that's not how my experience is supposed to be. So I knew this wasn't right. And I got myself out of it and into a program that wasn't hazing. That's a win. That is a win right there. And,
That's right.
Again, those stories and those things happening, you just know what you're doing is helping.
That's right.
And changing, and it is help changing their mentality. So yes, college is absolutely 100%. We need to keep talking to these students, but I do believe too, getting this high school stuff out there, programming out there, is important also. So we're just working really hard to keep expanding that and just keep going with that. Because again, I don't think you can undereducate anywhere in any age about hazing and bullying and all this stuff. So,
And we'll be right back. Dr. Marianne Kale is a nationally recognized facilitator and leader in building belonging and organizational culture. With over 25 years of experience in higher ed and strategic initiatives, Marianne empowers teams and communities to feel seen, valued, and connected. Her work blends story, research, music, and heart to bring people together around purpose and identity. To learn more about how Dr. Kale can help your organization or community build belonging and connection, strengthening and cultivating a values-based culture, go to maryannkale.com. Now back to the show. Well, I love the idea because I think we do a lot of alcohol and drug awareness for college students, but we know that young people they have started their, whatever their alcohol and drug journey is, that began way before they got to their college. in
Yes.
most cases.
Yeah.
So it
They
just makes
tested
sense
waters.
that
Yeah. All
they
over. I
oh,
mean,
they're
of course.
definitely dipping a toe and seeing how the water is, for
Yeah.
sure. It just makes sense that we would take this conversation there as well. So
Mhm.
to a younger group than just our college students. Let's go back to mental health for just a second. When you're talking to students, what is the message that you're giving them in terms of the additional damage they may be doing? Because I'm of the opinion that a lot of folks probably haze, and this is Shirley Scott's anecdotal armchair psychology view of why people haze, and I could be grasping at straws here, but I think with a lot of hazers, there is some hole that they are trying to fill. I don't know what that is, or why they don't feel able to talk to somebody about whatever the hurt is that they are experiencing. But if they're not able to have that conversation, they certainly have no idea about the damage they could be doing to somebody else if they don't know what's happening to themselves. So, is there a message or an encouragement or some type of insight you guys share with students that to help them understand, look, here's what your classmates are going through. Um, or this might be what you're going through. So, have you thought about the additional damage you could be doing to somebody you say you care deeply about? And if so, is there a reaction to that, either during the session or maybe in a private moment post session?
I don't know that we yeah, I don't know that we take it from the perspective that this is somebody that you care about, but we do point out that they could be causing psychological harm, depression, suicidal thoughts, drug problems, eating disorders. They could have this ripple effect that was unintended, but will stay with that person who's hazed and not handling it well, if you can handle it well.
So over the years, I've had the theory, the impression, I don't believe it's an entire chapter, that is hazing the new members. I generally think it's like a smaller group of guys. Maybe it is those sophomores that just had to go through it and they want to turn around and do it again because they had to go through it. And then it's not even all of them. It's the guys that think this is funny. They think it's, for shits and giggles. They are on a power trip. And I do believe, like in Max's case, the main hazer in his case, he's a bully. From what we've heard, he was a bully his whole life. He wasn't a nice person. And the word hazing, like as Pam Champion said, it gives that lighter effect on it. It's saying like, oh, well, it's hazing. It's not bullying. We're giving the bully a platform now that's like, oh, no, it's not that. I can be mean like this. It's just hazing because he wants to be part of my group. So I can do this
Damn.
to him. So again, I don't think it's everybody. And like people in that room that night with Max knew what was going on, not just with Max, but with the other guys. They knew things were not right with those main guys doing the hazing. And one of them even said downstairs because they had left, they didn't want to deal with it. They said, you know what, we better get back upstairs before he kills somebody. They knew and they knew it was wrong. You know what I mean? But they're either too chicken, and again, nothing bad's going to happen to anybody. So I'm not going to step in. And then when something really bad happens, they all implode because they don't know what the hell to do then. And now all they think about is, I'm going to get in trouble. Not, oh, I actually just killed somebody. How much more? I mean, let's talk about that trouble that's about to happen. You didn't even call 911. I just went on a big long rant. I did not mean to, but again, it's all that. It's just, you keep allowing it and allowing it and allowing it. And so the mentality just, you got to step in and stop it with the guys that want to do it. And we say it all the time. If you've got a group of guys in there that they just don't want to stop, when you guys, especially leaders, are sitting there telling them, no, stop, then you know what? Call your headquarters, get rid of them, get them out of your chapter because they will take you down. Hazing will take you down at some point. So just be ready for it because something bad's going to happen.
And I've seen it in so many different ways. And, I hear a lot from the women. We've seen a resurgence of hazing in on the women's side in the NPC sororities specifically. And, what I hear from the women oftentimes is they're like, the men get away with it. Campuses, advisors, people let them. So now, of course, women, go through this. I can drink like the men. I can do what men do. And now they're like thinking it's the same difference. I will say, I think for me in the 80s, alcohol was never a part. So I don't know if there was a time where it would stop, if that makes any sense, or there was some understanding that somebody needs to stop it. But I do believe it was chapter oriented in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 80s, right? Wrong?
No, I have another with what you're saying about the drinking in the 80s. I agree with you. I don't think it was as heavy, but think I think when they started banning kegs,
Yeah.
everybody went to hard liquor, and the
Yeah.
There it
hard
is.
liquor and the alcohol deaths
Yes.
has definitely gone up. I am sure there are
Mhm.
studies on it because you can see it, like in just some of our things that we have. And I think that was a big change that was supposed to be good, right? It was you're supposed to be helping. But I mean, I've yet to hear of anybody, overdosing on a keg stand. So I'm just saying, I think taking the beer
No,
out and the
no.
kegs out changed that a little bit. I mean, for
Well, and
sure.
I think
Not
the
even,
other thing is I was a fraternity and sorority affairs advisor in the 1990s when the drinking age in Louisiana went from 18 to 19 to sort of kind of 20, 21. We took a little while to raise it to 21. And, I just really believe that all the things that we're trying to do good started being compounded. And I agree with you. I say that all the time. I'm bringing back kegs. People are like, what are you talking about? And I said, and then, of course, the alcohol education people are like, well, people can harm people with beer too and water. I mean, I understand all of that. But, I guess for me, you've seen all kind of different perspectives. I do think post pandemic, somewhere along the way, people either sat at home and heard all the war stories about how great it was or did something because the resurgence of the acceptance of this is okay. And
yeah.
I don't know. I've been trying to wrap my head around just that piece of it too. Cause I think we had all thought we were doing a pretty good job, like, moving in a direction and then over and over and over again. And especially on the women's sides, I mean, I've talked to a number of executive directors who are just like, we never thought this was going to come back. And the women involving men, women involving embarrassment, women involving alcohol. I mean, that's just a whole nother conversation, I'm sure, but it's real. And I think that parents need, and what I would love to hear from you all is what perspective, how do you get parents to realize that they have to be active?
Mhm.
How do you get them to understand that stepping in, when you see something, say something? What do you say to your peers? Because to me, they know this is going on. I see the pictures of their kids on people's phones and they're like, well, I'm like, no, well, so what do you do? What do you say?
Even more frustrating is personal friends who were with us when we went through everything. And then their kids went through the new member process and they were okay with things like Hell Week or whatever. And it's mind boggling because you saw the damages. But parents really need to stop putting their head in the sand, and that's what they do. I've seen it on the parent chats on Facebook. Just holding my breath until my son gets through the process. Just a couple more weeks. Oh, no, they only need to clean the house a little bit and run some errands. You think that's it? You think that's all they're doing? No. And it's not what they went through when they went to college because, like Rayanne said, it has gotten so much worse. There's hard alcohol. There's drugs. I just heard something about pink cocaine being a big thing right now. Like, it's so much worse. They can't even imagine the things that we've heard that are done. to students, but they really need to open their eyes, to educate themselves, to let their kids know how much they are very loved and how much they're worth, and that they don't need to prove themselves to anybody, that they are good enough and a valuable member of the family and valued among their friends, and just not, it's not acceptable in any way, shape, or form.
And we'll be right back. Scott Fusel's approach to mental health and well-being programming is, shall we say, it's just different. If you're looking for content heavy on the clinical side, Scott's probably too engaging and maybe a little too authentic for your organization. However, if you're seeking a refreshingly transparent, application-rich, and shame-free message, you can now say, I know a guy, and his story sounds really familiar. After the show, head over to scottfuselcoaching.com and check out the many ways Scott can empower you, your family, your community, or your organization with the tools needed to experience true transformation. Scott Fusel Coaching and Consulting, well-being and parenting programming that meets you right where you are. Now back to the show.
Could you imagine if you treated like your brother or your sister, like, to belong to my family? All right, so now you need to, you need to put lemon juice in your eyeballs and eat a jalapeno, and you need to get in the dog's crate, and I'm going to pee on you, because that's what's going on in some of these places. Like,
And then drink a gallon of milk.
I mean, yeah, like, thinking you want that to be going on to be I don't know.
You know, and one of the things that, especially when I talk to women, I'm like, do you want to you go into your brand new fancy new job and you're treated like shit to prove yourself that you deserve to be there after they hired you?
Yeah.
I'm like, would you put up with that? No, I wouldn't put up with that. I'm like, well, then what's the difference?
What are you
What's
doing?
the difference? You know, it's like, you are worth more. You know, this is a very passionate kind of conversation. Oh, I'm sure this is going to get a lot of feedback. And what I love is, I think, you know, we've all been on stages, and when you're brought in, you kind of have to, how do I say this? Everything you say is going to be dissected, right? Everything's going to be, they're taking pictures, they're posting, they're doing whatever. But I think this is the kind of raw emotion that people need to understand. This is the only way things are going to change, is if people get hot about it and pissed off about it. And you two could have just sat back and hated everything. And instead, you have moved forward to put good in the world and to honor your two sons. And, you know, that takes a lot of courage. I don't know if you feel that, but, you know, I wish other parents would look to you and say, I don't want to be in their club. I'm going to do something to help my kids.
It blows my mind how moms will go to a job interview with their son or daughter, but they won't speak up when somebody's hazing.
Yeah.
And
you're
even
right.
worse,
Help me.
we've heard of parents who haze their kids to get them ready for the hazing that they will experience.
You've got to be kidding me.
Can y'all respond to this? Is it about that their kids being in fraternities and sororities, let's just use that as an example, or athletes, or band, whatever you want to use, right?
Organization.
Is it about their status? Is it that they don't want, like, their kids just need to get through that because it'll all be worth it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it has something to do with parents too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so different because, I mean, everybody's there on women's bid days. Everybody's there, you know, I mean, but it's about them too. So why isn't it about them in all aspects? I guess that's the question I ask all the time, because I sit down and I tell them, you need to know that this shit is happening. And if you're not paying attention, I'm telling you right now, you're going to be the first one to call me and say, Marianne, what do we need to do when something goes awry? I said, because then it's going to be everybody's fault. But you have a responsibility to step in now too, if you see it. And if you know,
And that's all I tell parents, please, like, don't just cross your fingers and hope they get through it. Like, you need to be reporting on it. You need to be calling the school. You need to be calling the headquarters, whoever, but report on it. It's not going to change. And again, you don't want to be Evelyn or I. You don't want that phone call at noon on a Thursday and your kid, is in the hospital and they're doing everything they can for him right now. And, all because of joining an organization at the school he just went to, just a place he wanted to love and be a part of and love everything about, go Tigers. And now he's dead because he just tried to have, like I said, Phi Delta Theta should have just been his icing on his cake. He's just to have a good time while he was there. I don't know how a parent would just can, and obviously we're definitely, we're on the other side. So it's like, you don't want to be on this side. Speak up. I'm telling you to please speak up, because that's how it's going to change. That's how you're protecting your children and how you're showing them to have courage to fight against a bully, a hazer, abuse.
And there's something that Rayanne said that I thought of earlier. So it's not like you can victim blame. People want to, like they just wanted to belong. No, Max had plenty of friends. Tim had plenty of friends. They didn't need these groups. They wanted to make a big school smaller. They wanted to be in something special. They wanted to feel a part of something that was fun and cool. But it wasn't that they were so desperate to belong that they would do anything. It's more than that. Hazing is so much more than that. You can't boil it down to like this simple, the victim, they really wanted to belong. No, that's not it.
It's not it. That's actually, you're right. It is not it. Like, if you would have known, anyone would have known Max Max beat to his own drum. He had friends in every single group. He was not the most popular kid. He wasn't the least popular kid, but everyone knew him his entire life. He played sports. He did his journalism. Everybody liked him. He always included everyone around him. And he didn't need to join anything. And he actually wasn't even going to join a fraternity. And then he kind of decided to right before he went. He was like, some guys had been reaching out to him. He realized LSU clearly has a huge Greek community there. And he was like, maybe, you know what, I'll try it. Because I even said to him, you might try it and you might not like it. But, try, because, I get it. I understood him as a kid. He didn't need to be that. He just thought, this is making a really big school, much smaller. And he even chose a smaller fraternity at the time, which that didn't surprise me either. Like, there was a couple of these big ones with a lot of guys in them that wanted him. And he was like, I think I like the smaller one better. Like, it probably to him felt more manageable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I hear from a lot of parents, though, about why they won't speak up is that they're afraid of the retaliation that's going to happen. And I think that's where we're really at a crossroads right now.
Absolutely.
I've had conversations with extremely intelligent, engaged, in all of things, know this industry, been involved, committed to it. And when their kids are involved, when their sons especially are involved, they're like, I didn't want to make it worse. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to ruin his college experience. I didn't want to, fill in the blank. And they really struggle with what to do. And so, I think your work is so important because you're trying to help them figure out how to manage this too, because they're not trying to harm. They're afraid, and they have every right to be afraid as parents. If they're
that's where
I see it. And that's why I'll tell parents, call me. I'll call for you. And I've done that many a times. Like, I will call Georgia Southern, UGA, Tennessee, wherever, and be like, hey, listen, I've got this call from my mom. This is all the information I have, blah, blah, blah. As the more I get, I will let you know, but that keeps her and her child completely out of it at this point. And at least then the university and the headquarters can at least start some sort of investigation, something to at least put a light on it, and have questions asked.
Evelyn, I need to come back to you for a second. There are two things I wanted to follow up with you on. First off, I didn't know the term hazing was being used as a way to make things okay, that was a softening of bullying or a softening of abusing another person. Had no idea that the phrase had been somehow, it made it okay. That blows my mind. So I'm curious to know your thoughts on how that started, what happened there, why that people think that that's okay. But the thing that occurred a little bit earlier when Mac was talking about, feel like for some parents, this is about them. And you really had a strong reaction to that. So talk about when Max shared that and you reacted so strongly. What were you thinking? What were some things that we need to be considering in terms of why you reacted the way you did?
I feel like for some people, it is so important to have legacy. And especially, I think, with women. And, oh, my grandmother was in this sorority and my mother was in this sorority and I have to join this sorority. And it's almost like a pedigree that it's just more important that you have this thing associated with your name, and that outshines the things that you need to go through in order to get that.
That makes sense, and that's complicated and unnerving on so many levels, whether it's sorority or fraternity or something
Right.
else. Hey, welcome back, everybody. I appreciate you tapping play today and spending some time with us. We've spent a lot of time talking about the effects, the damage that hazing can do intentionally or unintentionally. We could spend the next 20 hours having that conversation because it's limitless. I do want to spend just a few minutes talking about what works. Rayanne and Evelyn, you've been on, my guess is probably hundreds of campuses by now. You've certainly spoken to over 100,000 students, would be my bet. So would you mind spending a couple of minutes talking about messages that you find to be resonating with students or with athletes that you're talking to, and maybe a couple of messages that you find to be resonating with parents? And what are some of the programs maybe that you're seeing on campuses, or some of the research that you're seeing that says these are some of the things that work most effectively when it comes to prevention? Evelyn, can we start with you?
I really think that having the parents of hazing victims speak is what's working. I feel like we can touch people in a way that, say, a paid speaker may not, just because we are just so genuine. We are an open book and we make people see things in a different light than they would have ordinarily. They put themselves in our shoes. They can picture, that this is their brother or sister. And it just makes it so much more real to have us there potentially breaking down time and time again because we have such an unnecessary, tremendous loss. And I think we can reach people.
That does it for today. Join us next time for the rest of Evelyn's answer as we wrap up our conversation with Evelyn Piazza and Rayanne Gruver. Thank you so much for joining us for this powerful conversation on leaders, letters, and legacy. We are so deeply grateful to Evelyn and Rayanne for their courage in turning heartbreak into awareness, advocacy, and lasting change. As we reflect during National Hazing Prevention Week, let's honor Tim and Max's legacy by committing ourselves to conversations, choices, and actions that build safer, more compassionate communities. Together, we can ensure that no family endures this kind of loss again. You've been listening to Leaders, Letters, and Legacy, The show is produced by Scott Fussell and hosted by Dr. Marianne Calais and Scott Fussell. Background noise is provided by Bailey, Bentley, and Lincoln. Spousal support provided by Sue and Reed. For more, be sure to follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And to help others find the show, be sure to rate and review the podcast before logging out. Leaders, Letters, and Legacy is an L3 Learning production.